Hi everyone, welcome to the Vulnerable Scientist podcast. This is your host Sarah Nyakiri. This is a space where scientists who are willing to be vulnerable or are vulnerable can talk about their highs and lows in their career journey. How do you feel after having this conversation?
I feel really a lot lighter today because it's not often that I share a lot of the thoughts that I have in my head. That there is even a, as you said, humanly side of scientists, and they are not the nerds who are just working in the lab.
So today I have a very special guest called Sarabjeet. Kindly introduce yourself.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Sarabjeet. I have been always fascinated by how life originated on Earth and the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. So I did my PhD in computational chemistry. That is, I have been using all those computers for finding out how these biomolecules like nucleic acid and proteins, how they may have formed early on Earth. So now I'm doing my postdoc in Belgium, and I have switched from computational, that is from computers, to an experimental, like hands-on kind of lab experiments here. And right now I'm working on nuclear bases and some of the minerals that are found on Earth.
How did you get to where you are right now? Tell us about the journey.
My father, he was in army, and my mother, she was a housewife. So we traveled a lot. Like after a year or two, we have to go to another place. So I didn't have much time to make friends. And during this time, I sort of found my friend in the books and in the stars. And I started reading a lot about stars, galaxies, nebula, and of course the possibility of life there. And I also started watching a lot of Star Trek and all the sci-fi. So I got really fascinated about all these things. And I think little by little, this developed my interest in this field, which is actually prebiotic chemistry, the region of life here and the extraterrestrial life and all that stuff. So during the high school, I think I was hardworking and a sort of like teacher's pet. But yeah, so fortunately, my teachers, they were very enthusiastic. They always encouraged me to follow our dreams and our aspirations. And the college was a bit hard. I would not say I was the best student, but I was, I think, okay. So, but yeah, I had my own graph of learning. And over time, I think I developed the concept that were needed to carry out the research that I'm doing right now. So that made me think that looking back, I used to be not very optimistic that I will be able to do something in the research field because I didn't have like really great test of grades. Because I think the reason behind that is in our college, we had more like a traditional kind of setup. So that actually focused more on rote learning. That is, you have to cram all that concepts. You have to cram all those answers and then write it down in the exam. So yeah, so I didn't fare very well. So maybe that's a bit of a message for people out there who are not at the top of the class, but still are interested in doing research. It is possible. So just learn at your own pace. And this is what I did from my high school to my college, and keep believing in your dreams. I knew that I wanted to do something related to astrobiology, astronomy, prebiotic chemistry. But I didn't have the right guide to tell me what subjects or what line of course or what courses do I have to follow. So, during my college, first I chose biophysics, and then someone told me, no, biophysics is not good for you. You should go for pure sciences like chemistry or physics. So then I went for chemistry. But I think in all this commotion, I was trying to find my way. And there was a lot of confusion at that time. Like, how do I end up like doing research in this field? How do I contribute in this field? And I'm from India. And in India, basically, if you want to do something as astronomy, you're supposed to be either from physics background or mathematics background, or you should be an engineer. But no one told me at that particular time that it is possible to do something in astronomy with your chemistry and even with your biology background. So that was a low point for me. And another low point for me was in the beginning, my father was not very supportive. So as any other father in a middle class family in India, he wanted me to settle down and have a really stable job and a stable career where I can earn well and I'm settled for life. So, and he thought that maybe being a researcher is not a stable job, and you have to contribute a lot of years in building your career. But eventually, I think he understood that this is what I really want to do in my life. This is my dream. And he became really supportive of me.
Interesting. What other law have you experienced to get where you are?
Well, I think it was more like I was not the kind of person that is more suitable for traditional kind of environment. So since I've encountered a traditional kind of teachings and learning in college, so I was not able to, I think, flourish as much as I would have been in another untraditional kind of environment where they focus more on the learning of the concepts and they let a person to grow at their own rate rather than having a fixed timetable, having a fixed schedule. So yeah, that was a bit of a struggling time for me. And then of course the other thing that I found was finding a good job after PhD. So that is after finding a postdoc, in fact. And I was applying at many places, and maybe I was applying at the wrong places, and that's why I didn't get selected. So I was getting like a little bit disappointed that every day I would apply 2 or 3 places and I would not get a really good answer. Or maybe the professor is interested to hire me, but he doesn't have the grant, he doesn't have the money. And then there were some places at which I was writing some proposals with other professors, but the selection committee decided not to choose it. But eventually, I got the good news from this current project that is I'm doing in Belgium. And I think it worked out. But yeah, I mean, I was in the last year of PhD, applying everywhere, not getting a good answer. That was really stressful time for me. Yeah, and another low I faced is after coming here. Now, I was from a computational background. That is, I have been working all on the computers, programs, softwares. And here I have to get back into the lab and start doing experiments. And you would believe it, I haven't done an experiment the last like 7 or 8 years. Yeah, and a lot was expected for me. So I have to learn a lot of things in a very short period of time.
What did you do for your undergraduate?
For the undergraduate, I was doing my bachelor's in chemistry. And for my master's, I did my major in physical chemistry.
Okay, so what made you go into computational?
I really liked working on computers with the softwares and all. And to be honest, initially when I used to work with the chemicals, it used to scare me a bit with all the danger signs and everything. So it was interesting for me that there is another way of doing chemistry. That is, you're sitting and working on your laptop and you have all those fascinating softwares installed and you can build a molecule just parallel to the one you're building in the lab. You can build a molecule on your computer and then you can study it. So that was something really fascinating for me. So I thought that why not make a tiny lab in my own computer, and a lab where the molecules that may have led to the origin of life, those molecules can be built on the computer. rather than going to the lab. But yeah, I mean, this is a part of research career that you have to go back to those parts of your career where maybe you're not very interested, but you need to learn them.
Yeah.
So for me, that was experimental, that I have to learn the experimental part of what I'm doing.
Okay, someone might be listening to this and they don't have a background in what you have studied or what you're currently doing. Can you give a snippet of what your projects were when you're doing your master's and your PhD?
Oh, yeah, sure. For the master's, I was working on radiation chemistry, which is a part of physical chemistry. For this, I try to see if you have a lot of cosmic radiations, which is actually a kind of high energy protons, and it's everywhere in the space. So if you have a spacesuit made of polymers like PMMA, which is a very common polymer, so you have a helmet made of PMMA. So you want your astronaut to be protected from such kind of radiation. So what dosage or what dose or what amount of radiation can that helmet withstand in the space? So that was what I studied in my master's. And for the PhD, since my major interest was in the origin of life thing, so I decided to go for the nucleobases. The nucleobases, they are the constants of DNA, RNA. And you have like 4 nucleobases: adenine, guanine, uracil, cytosine, and then the DNA you have thymine in place of uracil. So I decided to study how these nucleobases may have formed first on Earth, like in the beginning of the planet Earth, how these nucleobases may have formed. So this is what I studied in my PhD. Now, for my postdoc, an extension of what I did in my PhD, I'm trying to look at how these nucleobases may have protected over time, because from the nucleobases, we at the end one would want to have a DNA and RNA, because this is how the life may have evolved. So I'm trying to see how these nucleobases were able to stay on the surface of Earth for a long period of time, such that these nucleobases are converted into DNA or RNA, which is a part of our bodies today. This is what I'm doing right now. And in the future, I would like to explore more about this, like how these biomolecules like nucleobases may have formed on the surface of meteorites. Because another theory is that maybe these nucleobases were brought from outside on the surface of the meteorite on the planet Earth. So maybe meteorites were the delivery agents. So this is something I'm interested in exploring in near future. Actually, the work I'm doing is something that satisfies human curiosity, because everyone wants to know, where did we come from? Are we alone in the universe? The second thing is, this is not just about the human curiosity. The things that we are doing has also tremendous application in the medical field, because nowadays you do not have DNA, RNA as the sole genetic material. You also have other genetic materials which have been made parallel to DNA and RNA, and those involve the modification of the constants of DNA and RNA. So the way we are learning about the genetic material, like how it is formed and how it evolved over time, this may give us insight if we can form alternate genetic material. And in the pharmaceutical industries, this can be in fact used in the delivery of the drugs. Because if we know about bodies, how it is functioning, and if we know about the constants, then we can safely deliver a drug to a particular location without causing any harm to the DNA or the RNA. The other laws, beside the ones I discussed. Yes. I think it's more about the support. That's because having lows and highs, especially the lows, is something that you cannot avoid. But having a faith in yourself, in your dreams, and having a supportive kind of environment, because this is what I faced. Like when I had a supportive environment, when my family was really supportive, when I have friends who were supportive, I was able to grow more. I had a more positive outlook towards everything. But those periods of time when there were low and there were lows, and my family was not very supportive, and I didn't have friends around, then it made me, lose hope at certain periods of times, that maybe if the things that I want to do in my future, maybe the things I want to explore, I won't be able to do that. So this is something I really want to tell, like, everyone listening to this. It's really good to have a supporting environment, but if you do not have a supportive environment, just like I didn't have supporting environment at all the periods of my time. Sometimes I had it, sometimes I didn't have it. So the times when you do not have a supportive environment, it's good to have be your own support. I mean, inspire yourself, and maybe make yourself happy and be positive. Because many people, they told me sometimes that, oh, you're from the chemistry background, maybe you won't be able to do anything in astronomy. And you won't believe it, even many professors, they said it.
Wow.
Yeah, and now I look back, I'm really shocked. I mean, because if I go back, if I can go back to that time, I can tell my younger self, I would tell her that, do not lose hope. I mean, there is always a way. I mean, if you want to do something in your life, there is always a way. No matter what anyone tells you, no matter how low the time is, no matter how hard the situation is, there's always a way.
What do you mean, support yourself? Like, if you don't have a support system, support yourself. How?
This is something I learned over time. Okay. So, as a child, I used to look for appreciation everywhere. So, yeah. So, if I discuss about my dream, so I would in fact want the listener to support it, to be supportive of it, to appreciate it. But that was not the case every time. Sometimes people will understand your dreams, your aspirations, and sometimes they will not, and that's okay. Because at that particular time, it is important to tell yourself that no matter what other person is thinking, you are capable. You have all the potential to do whatever your heart desire. Okay. I think that is what I mean by being your own support. That if there is no person, if there is no one to tell you that, oh, you can do it, it's best to tell yourself that I can do it. Yeah. Yes. Because if a person from chemistry background with not the highest of grades can do a research and be selected in one of the top university, then I think anybody can do it, anything. Yeah. It's just about being confident and having faith in yourself and being your own support.
Thank you for sharing that. Is despite these lows that you've experienced, I'm sure there are so many, I don't know, highs, that good stuff that brought good emotions and happiness in your life. Would you like to share that?
Yes. I think the highs mostly, now the highs, I don't know if it is the same for everyone. The highs in my life make sense because I had someone to share with them, to share such feelings, to share those accomplishments. So fortunately, before my family, my parents, they were supportive of my career choices. I used to feel, I used to face lots of highs, but it was not the same fun. I mean, I would get really good grades, but my father would tell me, oh, you should get into civil services because you have good grades. And that high was not the same high. Then after a while, when my father, my mother, they understood that, okay, she is someone who can do really good in research, and it's her dream. So then when I then I published really good papers, then my father was really happy. And I think at that particular time, my high the feeling good factor of my high, it doubled. And then fortunately I got the best partner who is always my husband. He's always supporting me, and he's always in my all the highs. When I got selected for postdoc here, he supported, and he decided to quit his job just to support me, just let me have my career. And that's really like big thing. So that was a high for me, because someone was going, beyond his or her, beyond his limit, beyond his boundaries for me. Yeah. So that was a big high for me. And then, of course, my in-laws. Now, after having a really good parents who are supportive, my in-laws, they are really supportive. And in India, I mean, generally, the in-laws, they are more in favor of having a daughter-in-law who is not working. And if she is working, if she is working, they are not really supportive of the career. I mean, their main focus is on the career of their son.
Yeah.
But my in-laws, they decided to support me nonetheless and let me catch my dreams. I mean, that was actually a big high for me.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really fortunate in this case. Like, even my mother-in-law, father-in-law, if I have a really big interview or if I have a big meeting, they'll call me up and they'll wish me luck and pray for me sometimes. And that's a very fortunate thing for me. So that every time gives me high.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and I think it's important to talk about that, having that people surrounding you who are very supportive of what you want and what you're working for.
That's right. But even if you do not have it, I mean, even if, because as I told you, when I was growing up, I didn't have a really supportive environment. So also
It's
there
not
is
always the
possibility.
case.
Yeah, it's not always the case. I mean, maybe later in life you will have a really supportive environment. You don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other high that you'd like to talk about?
Well, the other highs, well, I'm looking forward to there might be other highs in the future, and about those I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Like, you're looking forward to more good things coming your way.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm looking forward to it. So another thing I would like to share is, for me, having a research career was something I have been dreaming for the last, like, how many years? 12 or 13 years or something. But yeah, because I was, I think, 14 or 15 when I decided to be a scientist. And so, but I think it should, once you have that, once you have achieved that, once you have become a scientist or whatever you have aimed for, it's important to have set another ambition for yourself.
Yeah, something to look forward to again.
Yes, or you will stop growing.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, making more ambitions for myself for the near future, and then probably grow in that course of achieving them.
Do you have any hobbies that you do apart from your career?
Yes. I really like watching fiction movies, reading fiction books, and then traveling, of course. Traveling to, like, new places, meeting new people. And beside that, I love cooking. So, I mean, there are many times you will find me in the kitchen cooking something new. Yeah. And beside that, I also like spending time with the kids, with elder people, and meditating.
Is there anything that you'd like to add?
For the people who are aspiring to become anything in their life, it's not just about being a scientist, whether they want to become a pilot or whether they want to become an artist. I think it's important to believe in yourself, in your abilities. I mean, right now, maybe you will feel that you might not be enough. But who knows, you will grow into someone you have never dreamed, and you will be more than enough. And during this journey, it's also important to have a balance, because sometimes I got overboard. I mean, I worked so hard, had no fun, and at other times I had all the fun and no work. So,
Okay.
yeah.
How is
So,
that? Having all the fun and no work?
yeah, I mean, I would say that after I got married, so I didn't have like a lot of work. I only had fun. Yeah, I took a break, but that's even okay. But for the long term, it's good to have a balance. I mean, do not overwork. Just have some time to yourself and enjoy small things in your life.
How do you feel after having this conversation?
Well, first, thank you, Sarah, for inviting me. And I feel really a lot lighter today because it's not often that I share a lot of the thoughts that I have in my head.
Yeah.
So I just hope that the experiences that I've shared today and the thoughts that I've shared today, they are of use to someone, and maybe inspire someone to go on, get on with your dreams, with your life. And I will be really, I would be really happy if people will understand that there is even a, as you said, humanly side of scientists, and they are not the nerds who are just working in the lab. Maybe they are also people with interests that are similar to yours.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for saying that. Why did you say yes to coming to the podcast?
Sorry?
Why did you say yes?
Okay. Yes. I think it would be a great opportunity to talk about our experiences, and I was also listening to other podcasts, other episodes of this podcast, and it was really, a warm feeling to know that people have similar stories, and they were able to surpass all the challenges that they faced, and they were able to achieve their dreams. And so I thought that maybe I would also like to share my story. So I'm just in a hope that maybe someone who's listening, I might contribute a bit in inspiring, or maybe shedding a positive side to all those things they are facing everyday life in their everyday life.
I love it that you talked about you not, really performing in your earlier years and being able to get into this. People perceive like chemistry is something very hard, and able to nail it through and even convert to, using computational skills to do still chemistry. And now you're in a space where you're back to the experimental science, and you being vulnerable about it not being as easy for you, but you can always do it at the end of it. And also sharing the need for you if you don't have a support system, because people say have a support system, but what if you don't have that support system? What do you do? And I like that you said that what you said about be your own if it's they're not there, be your own support system. And I love that you shared the need to have people finally the support system that normally the traditional society, especially where you come from, where they wouldn't support your career as a woman, but now they do, because they're just good people out here. It's good to see that through you. And also I love that you mentioned how hard it was for you to get a position even after completing your PhD. People think the further you advance your education, the more opportunities that you have, but at least you're showing the side where sometimes it's not that easy, and it doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It's just that there are no opportunities as much for every single person. So I would like you to say something about someone who's going through the same thing maybe you've gone through. What are your last words to them?
Well, keep trying. Do not lose hope. I mean, if you're talking about someone who is applying for a new job or new position, or someone who is thinking of switching a career, or that is actually synonym to going into unknown. Because for me, going into unknown was leaving my PhD and applying for postdoc and going somewhere and starting a postdoc. So I think my message for them is keep trying and do not lose hope and believe in your capabilities. Eventually, it will all work out.
Thank you for listening. You can now support this production through www.patreon.com/thevulnerable scientist.